at the top, got it? No problem. The way it's outlined is the first one up at the top. You see number 1, that's the deadline for submissions. It'd be great to have it by the 21st. I know there might be some required flexibility there, so know that we can work with that. The second part you'll see is that focus group type. That's that stakeholder group. So again, it says community organizations, industry partners, and so on. And then from the far left side, starting from first name all the way going to notes, that's the participant contact information. So that's what I'll use to reach out to folks through email. And then the last column, you see Innovation Hub Liaison, that's your name. So when I send out the email, I can CC you, I can kind of say in the email, they thought you would be a great person to speak to these experiences, to kind of build that trust and rapport there. And then number 5 at the bottom are tabs. And those tabs are just for each state lead and then the different organizations in the Innovation Hub as well. So you would just click which one that you're wanting to report from, and you fill out the information there. And then, so this is kind of the wrap up. This is the last thing, because I want to leave some time for any questions we might have. Those next steps is if we can submit the participant contact information using that Excel sheet by Friday, June 21st. That would be lovely. If we need, time and a little bit of extension, we have a little bit of wiggle room we can work with. And then as always, just if you have any questions in this process, I'm very available to answer any. And then I put again at the bottom where you can find the Excel sheet. This PowerPoint will also be in there as well. And then for anyone who signed up for the evaluation and assessment committee, you'll have the ability to influence the protocol, the plans, all kinds of stuff. And I'll be scheduling a kickoff meeting for that later this month. So that's for those who are joining that. And then I will leave the last 2 minutes or so for any questions I can answer.
Thanks so much, Peyton. Really appreciate you making this so straightforward for everyone, and excited to hear from different voices that we may not have as consultants. We've got a couple of questions in the chat if we want to start there, and then if anyone else has questions.
Absolutely. So I see the first one would be from Amy. Is there a stipend? Yes. Right now we have $50 for each person participating, and we're looking at the focus groups being an hour and about 30 minutes. And just clarifying, it's July 21st. Yes, that is correct. Friday, July 21st would be great to have the contact information. Can participants be future grant applicants? Catherine, I don't see any conflict of interest there at all.
They can be.
Okay.
They can be. This would be different than the other consultants. So please do. And all those folks that you might have a conflict of interest for the other process, please, this would be a great place to engage them.
Absolutely. Is there a blurb we can send? Yes, I have a blurb that I can share with everyone. I also have flyers as well, if that is something of interest, and I can put that in our shared folder as well. And then Colleen, I see you have your hand raised.
I don't know if others have this issue, but I'm going to be on vacation for 2 weeks at the end of July, so the timing is going to be tough. I wouldn't be surprised if we've got other people that will be on vacation in this vacation season. So might need some grace on that deadline. And I think related to Gary's question, I don't love submitting people's names without letting them know what I'm doing. So I'd rather, have those initial conversations with them, so they'd be more likely to be a yes for you by the time you get their names. So I guess I'm wondering then, a blurb would be helpful. And I don't know how much they need to know about the whole project as background, but having that would be helpful so that we can communicate with them. I would rather get permission to send their names up. So all of that back and forth might take a little bit longer than just giving you names. But out of respect for our relationships, I would rather go about it that way, which then also doesn't work very well with my vacation plans. So I don't know
Absolutely.
how others feel about that.
Yeah, and Colleen, that's a really great point to bring up that consent to share their information. I think that that is a great way to go about it. So I can send blurbs. I have an email template that I was using that I would send out. So I'll send that out too and share all those resources with you all. And if that is an approach that feels more comfortable and more respectful to folks, we can adapt that as well. Thank you for bringing that up, Colleen. And is there a chance someone we nominate wouldn't be selected for a focus group? How many people per focus group? So it'll be anywhere from 6 to 10, Megan. And is there a chance? There could be a slight chance. Typically with focus group recruitment, we don't get as many folks as we'd like. So the only reason they would not be accepted into the focus group, if they lived outside of our region, that would be an issue. So we really want to focus on our region first. And then if the focus groups cap out, just for incentive purposes, I would want to make sure I could still compensate folks. Thank you for all your questions. These are excellent. Any other?
Can I, just one quick question about the screening. What is that gonna be about? What kind of a screening they will have? Because they probably would like to know.
Absolutely. And I could send you that too, because I have that created as well. So the screening survey is just really collecting their contact information. It's kind of like a sign-up sheet of sorts. It's making sure they live in the area, making sure that they are a community organization or a K through 12 food professional, that they have that relationship and experience. And then at the end of that screening survey, it will be selecting the times and dates within a 3-day window that works best for them to participate in the focus group. And I can share that information with you all as well. Thank you.
All right, quick question. I think you said this, but what's the general time frame for when the focus groups would take place?
Yeah, so it's going to be in August and September. And the way I have it settled right now is that each focus group type will have a 3-day window in which they can choose dates from, and they'll be scheduled in that 3-day window for whatever works best for them. Thank you, Megan.
Thanks so much, Peyton, and thanks for the questions, everyone. And Peyton, if you wouldn't mind just sending me any little, like a blurb you have about what we're putting in the share drive, I can include that in our weekly emails for the next few weeks while we're working on this recruitment.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And if anyone thinks of other questions as our call goes on, please feel free to throw them in the chat. If there's nothing else on focus groups for now, I can turn it over to our Invisible Engines team to give a communications update.
Great, thanks. I can take that. Hi, everybody. I'm Laura O'Connor. I'm here representing the strategy and design firm Invisible Engines. So we're the marketing and communications consultant for this project, and we're going to be responsible for the website that's going to inspire people to apply for this grant, and then link to the grant portal, the marketing materials to get the word out, and then the media strategy to get the word out too. We're also the ones who sent out the questionnaire about how you've been talking about the Innovation Hub and what you want success to look like. So thank you to everybody who completed that last week and this week. It was so much fun to read everybody's responses. It got us like even more excited about what we all can accomplish together. So thanks for that. And importantly, that is the first step in what we are calling the discovery phase of the marketing communications work. So that really is the first step in informing the website and the marketing materials and the media strategy. So again, thank you for the time you took to complete that. And thanks to Catherine for distributing it. Catherine also sent out a weekly update. I believe it was yesterday, about the messaging workshop, which she also mentioned at the top of the call. That is going to be Tuesday the 11th. So that is next week. It's going to be from 1 to 4 Central Time. So yes, that's right. It's 3 hours, but we promise a really good time during those 3 hours. It's going to be very interactive. We're going to have some activities and some facilitated discussions about how we communicate about the hub. So that when it comes time to launch it this fall, we're all saying the same things and getting everybody excited about the launch, and then also just for years to come. We would love to have all of you. We really want as many perspectives as possible at this messaging workshop. So if you can make it, again, we would love for you to accept that invitation. Again, I think somebody mentioned, Colleen, I think it was you, about vacation. We realize it's the middle of the summer. So if you can't make it, or if you can't make the 3 hours, we will definitely build in a time to hear your voice. Because again, we really want your voices, those with lived experiences as part of this, knowing how important those voices are too. So if you could accept it, or let me know if you can attend part of it, that would be great. And then, Peyton shared that lovely slide deck, and I don't have that slide deck, but high level, just consider this discovery questionnaire and the messaging workshop as our kickoff to all the marketing and website work. So we're going to be working with our subgroup along the way to develop those materials, and we'll be giving regular updates to this full group as the materials and plans progress. So this won't be your only opportunity, but again, it's like really important to get as much information in the very beginning as a project like this. So my last plug, if you can make it, we'd love it. And again, we promise a good time at it. Any questions? Or any really enthusiastic, yes, I cannot wait to come on Tuesday?
I cannot wait to come on Tuesday.
I love it, Sweet Pea. Thank you. Thank you, Peyton. Yeah, no, it will be super fun. Very participatory. Yeah, we promise a good time. All right. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to email me. I'll put my email in the chat box. But looking forward to seeing those of you who can make it.
And just so you know, Laura, it looks like we have 12 accepted and maybe 6 or 7 tentatives for next week.
Oh, that's
We'll
awesome.
update numbers soon.
Thank you all.
Thanks so much, Laura. I am also very excited for next Tuesday. The only other thing I would add to everyone is the Invisible Engines group kindly created another survey that's similar to the one that several of you took, and that's for our consultants with lived experience. So as we identify those, having that done by the end of next week, and as you connect them to me, so as I get to know our consultants with lived experience, if they're willing, we'll have them share any insights they have that we can that the Invisible Engines group can use to inform our messaging, so that we are speaking in a voice that resonates with our priority audiences. So I sent that out in the update yesterday, and you'll be hearing more about that as we're getting more and more of our consultants confirmed. There's oh, thanks for putting your email in the chat, Laura. And glad you're going to join, Diane. If there's no questions for the Invisible Engines group, then I can pass it over to Goen and Gilchrist to talk a little bit about the RFA development process.
Hey everyone. I am Gilchrist, Kim Gilchrist of Goen and Gilchrist. So I'm half of the RFA development team. My skills are really around process development and implementation. And then Rachel, who's the other half of the team, she is, her skills really focus around group dynamics and facilitation. She couldn't be here today, but you'll all meet her at some point soon. For our game plan, we have continuing the season of project kickoffs. Our kickoff is going to be the week of July 17th. I think it was Catherine sent out a doodle poll for everyone to fill out. We are, again, ideally hoping that everybody can join us for the kickoff along with the lived experience consultants. What will be happening during that call and the purpose of it is to kind of get everybody's perspectives on the underlying values that you want to keep in mind as we are developing the RFA. What do you want to see different in this RFA process than other RFA processes? What makes this meaningful? So we want to really get the wider group perspective so that once we move into the subgroup, we can kind of have that as our sort of North Star as we develop this process. And then also because we will be inviting new folks into the group with the lived experience consultants, and they'll be coming in super fresh. It will kind of be like an orientation for them too, and really helping them connect to the bigger picture overall project and get connected with the group. So we'll be nailing down that date next week according to the doodle poll. Like I said, ideally we'd love to have all of you there, or as many people as possible. And we're going to kind of see how folks are filling out the doodle poll to see how that actually shakes out. And then once we have our kickoff with the wider group and get everybody's perspective, then we'll meet with our RFA subgroup to discuss meeting logistics, how we want to work together and stuff like that. Then end of August, beginning of September, we'll really be diving into details on what the RFA is going to look like. And we have a goal of getting a draft to the USDA by September 15th. So that is our game plan for the next few weeks. A lot going on. If you haven't filled out the doodle poll, please do. Even if you can't make any of the dates, it's helpful to know you at least saw it and filled out that you can't be there. And I think that's all for me. I'll take if anybody has any questions for us. And another piece, I'll just say that part of the doodle poll was, as you are recruiting consultants, if you could share it with them too, so we can start getting their availability as soon as possible, that would be helpful as well.
Thanks, Kim. Any questions for Kim?
And I think just to reiterate, Catherine, from your email yesterday, once your consultants are identified and you notify us, we will send them the doodle poll, the communication survey, and their honorarium form, which shows them the terms of how we pay them. So we will take care. We can send everything, but the sooner the doodle poll, the better. So if you happen to be able to grab it, I think it's always helpful. But we'll be sending all that once you tell us who the consultant is.
Thanks, Jana. Any other questions or comments related to our RFA development? If not, then I can go ahead and pass it to Colleen to talk a little bit about their initial thinking around the Regional Food Business Center.
Sure thing. And I know I just have a few minutes here in our short meeting today, so I'm happy to chat more with folks as we continue planning our respective work and finding ways to synergize. And I don't know how familiar people are with the Regional Food Business Center's opportunity through USDA AMS, Agricultural Marketing Service, but I might just show their website because that might show the best current information right now. We're working on updating some of our materials ourselves now. So to get us started and kind of lay some groundwork, so for folks who might not be as familiar, this was an opportunity that Agricultural Marketing Service announced in September, I believe it was. There was some lead up to that, so we did have a sense that it was coming and had some internal conversations about whether we would want to engage or not. And in the end, and after lots of conversations with partners, in our own state and in other states, including in this same region for this project, we decided to proceed with leading an application for a Great Lakes Regional Midwest Food Business Center. Great Lakes Midwest Regional Food Business Center. Sorry, I got it mixed up. We luckily were one of the 12 finalists selected for funding for a regional food business center. And we say finalist because it took some time to work out the agreements. Our agreement is just about signed and final. So we're just waiting for final confirmation on that. But you can see here the 12 finalists, and each one of these is much bigger than the name at the top. So for our regional food business center here in the Great Lakes region, and you can see the states that we cover, which look familiar because they're the same states for this project. We have what we're calling network coordinators in each one of these places in our region, and what the USDA is calling them for the purposes of the projects across the country and for budgets is key partners. So you might hear us talking about key partners or network coordinators, and in our minds they are one and the same. But we've got as our leads in these places, the Food Finance Institute of University of Wisconsin System is our Wisconsin lead. In Illinois, we have the Chicago Food Policy Action Council, which is going to be coordinating with some other efforts outside of Chicago, and I know is involved in supporting this project as well. In Indiana, we have our friends who are on the line here today. I saw Virginia and Annie were on from Northwest Indiana Food Council, and then we at the MSU Center for Regional Food Systems, based in East Lansing, will be the lead for Michigan, as well as coordinating the center altogether. And then one other important partner, so last but not least, is our Menominee tribe. It's the Department of Agriculture and Food Systems. They're based out of Wisconsin, but they will be providing regional tribal coordination. So they'll be working across all of these places to connect tribes within them. The most tribes are in Wisconsin and Michigan. So those will be connected very well through their efforts, I'm sure. So the purpose of these centers, you can see here, responsibilities, I should say. So we will be doing coordinating work across this region, and other than this project and some previous conversations that the Chicago Food Policy Action Council had been having for like this regional food shed, we haven't done a whole lot of work together. So there's a lot that goes into building up those relationships and trust and group development and all of those things, as well as also developing our processes and systems for decision making and getting funds out. So there's a lot to be done in that coordination space, and that we will be beginning straight away once we do get work going. And I'm sure that will continue throughout our whole project. And then a bit later on, we will be working to provide technical assistance to farmers and food business entrepreneurs. That is the target population for this work, and specifically working with those who have been historically marginalized and, you know, under-resourced because of racism and historic inequities. So there will be a focus on really reaching those underserved communities with technical assistance to support those businesses and the ways that they might like to grow or expand as they see fit. And then the last piece is capacity building. So similar to this project, we will be working to get funds out in the form of grant awards, and those will be going to that same population of farmers and food businesses. So we might have some opportunities to kind of work together to direct potential recipients of these grant opportunities to either the Regional Food Business Center or to the School Food Innovation Hub. If there's school food specific projects that are in development, then we can certainly send folks here. But if there are other projects in development, or it might fit better to work through this Regional Food Business Center, then it's helpful for y'all to know what we're up to, so that you can also direct people this way. And I can, once we get our outreach materials updated, which we're working on today, I can get that out to you so you have contact information for the leads for our network coordinators or key partners. One thing I didn't mention as clearly as I should have is that we will be providing technical assistance awards, as we're calling them. So we'll be kind of building up that support network for farmers and food business entrepreneurs, so that there will be more technical assistance that's better connected and better geared towards what those folks say they need. So between those two funding engines, we will have over $10 million going out for technical assistance awards and business builder awards for farmers and food businesses. And our total funding is $20 million over 5 years. So it's similar timing to this project as well. We're getting started a bit later, but it's a tad shorter. I think we have an additional 6 months with this group. So it's nice that the two will be working in a similar time frame as well. And in the end, as you saw, there were 12 regional food business centers set up around the country. They wanted to, once they saw the applications come in, be sure that they covered the whole US, including territories, and they can do that with 12. So I feel like that was a rapid fire overview. Catherine, is there anything more that you wanted me to hone in on?
I think that's a great intro for us, Colleen. Really appreciate you taking the time, and we know how much is involved in just trying to figure out all the pieces, but it's helpful for us to start thinking this over, you know, as soon as possible. And I put in the chat our the Midwest USDA FNS contacts are working on compiling all of the funding coming to our region. So we of course have Innovation Hub and the Food Business Center, and then we have LFS, we have LFPA. There's a lot cooking right now. So hoping that if we, you know, can all on this call get our heads clear about what's what could be used for what, we'll have a really incredible opportunity to support folks with whatever they need. And like Colleen said, be able to direct them to the opportunity that best fits what they're looking for. Any questions for, oh, I see some questions coming in the chat for you, Colleen.
Yeah, answering the Wisconsin question, and yes, we will be quite busy, as will we all through these various projects. And I should also note, Catherine, that Resilient Food Systems Infrastructure Program that was announced at the same time as our Regional Food Business Center finalists. So that's a new program that's getting set up right now through AMS as well, and that will be run through Departments of Agriculture, and they're being directed to work with regional food business centers in their area to make sure that those efforts sync up as much as possible too. So those are conversations that we're just starting to have with our Department of Agriculture, and maybe we can have some conversations across all of these project teams and with those various agencies that are managing those different funding opportunities, so that we can try to sync up a bit more across our region. And I do believe this is the only place that these two projects are happening in the exact same region. So I think there's some really cool opportunities for us to really synergize between them, but also then share out, you know, what can happen when both of these opportunities are in one place.
Yeah, that's a great flag. Thanks, Colleen. And definitely agree. I think some kind of regular touch base across regional administration would be really helpful as these get more underway. We'll continue to put any questions or thoughts in the chat as we move forward. So we do have about 10 minutes left of our call. So I know we wanted to give some time for any state leads to share out, again, just initial thoughts about how you're thinking about structuring or rolling out the Innovation Hub in your state. I know 10 minutes only gives us 2 or 3 minutes per state lead, so sorry about that. But if there are any very high level or things that you think are particularly pertinent or could be helpful to other states as they're thinking about their structure, would love to give some space to each of you to share. Is there a state that would want to kick us off?
Catherine, I'll start real briefly in Illinois
Thanks,
here.
Gary.
We're going to work through, networks essentially. We have the Illinois Farm to School Coalition, and each of the members of that coalition has their own networks across the state. And so we're going to just try to leverage the existing structures and networks. We also have a network of non-farm to school communities that are part of an initiative called the Cross Community Climate Collaborative. And this is mayors that have signed an agreement to work together on climate equity and sustainability. But we're also engaging all the K through 12s within those communities, and many of those are environmental justice communities. So we're going to use those networks to try to connect this program to.
Thanks, Gary. That's helpful, and appreciate the flag to think about kind of non-traditional networks as well that might be engaging our priority audiences in different ways. Would Wisconsin or Indiana or Michigan want to go next?
I can jump in. We will also be working to leverage existing networks. In Indiana, we have our Indiana Grown for Schools network. I've been really involved in that kind of from the start. We've developed different toolkits for schools to be able to use. So there are some existing resources that I think will be helpful to schools. And then also we are involved in the local Food for Schools cooperative agreement, which is enabling us to purchase and distribute for free locally grown food to schools that are at or above 50% free and reduced lunch rates. So we'll be doing those distributions for the next year, and we're really thinking of leveraging that. It gets us into the schools, gets us face-to-face with them, and we're hoping that the School Food Innovation Hub will be one mechanism to build some sustainability into that programming, and do some sort of like wraparound farm to school work, not just in the procurement space.
Thanks, Virginia. I appreciate that update. Would Michigan or Wisconsin want to go next?
I think I can share a bit about Wisconsin, and Amy, please fill in as needed. We are the Health Tide Network has about 3,000 leaders and organizations across the state in nutrition and physical activity. So we have a network of connections. That's the work that we do. So we are planning to get more organized in how we're going to tap into all the different types of organizations that we are connected with. And I think at this point, our priority has been, as maybe for all of you, identifying the consultants. And after we do that, probably we're going to structure better how we're going to be reaching out to all the different leaders and organizations across the food system that we're trying to reach. Amy, I don't know if you want to complement with something.
Yeah, I think in our state, we have a really great resource also with our UW, University of Wisconsin-Madison Extension. They have a number of farm to school specific resources, including a Harvest of the Month, as well as Harvest of the Moon, which are tribal specific materials for foods that are indigenous and culturally appropriate. So we have those resources and then a number of actual school gardening and other connections in our state that we're hoping to continue to spread and leverage as well.
Again, and Amy.
I'll chime in after that. I think we have a lot of existing programs right now, like Local Food for Schools, LFPA. There's a bunch of different farm to school programs, 10 cents a meal, which is our state's local food incentive program. So I think we're gonna focus on building off of those and using existing partnerships and projects that have already been going on. We're really unique in this state and grateful that we have a lot of really cool things already happening. So there's a lot of different points where we can build off of that. Colleen, you want to jump in?
I don't have much more to add, except that also then through our Michigan Farm to Institution network and some of the other networks that exist in Michigan, we do have, connections to those other partners that we would want to engage through this process too, beyond the school foods service professionals. So we should have no trouble with getting the word out through lots of different venues. And just wanted to note too, the good news that Universal Meals here is going through. So our governor, hopefully, I don't think she's signed the budget just yet, but she's expected to. So it will be interesting to see how that opens up the world of possibilities for farm to school.
Congratulations on many things, and especially Universal School Meals. We will be looking to you all as we do the push again next year to get our program funded in Illinois, and then we'll have a lot of our Midwest region providing universal free school meals, which will be great. Thanks for those updates, everyone. Really appreciate it, and I think it's helpful to hear all the different networks that folks are thinking about in case it spurs any new ideas for other states. So I want to kind of try and recap everything that we have going, since there's a lot of different processes with different timelines and requests cooking. But before I attempt to do that, are there anything else anyone wants to share or any questions that haven't been answered?
I just put in the chat, but I can say it out loud. I know, generally we're providing Spanish translation, but I'm curious, Peyton, if any of the focus groups, if there's enough folks wanting a Spanish focus group, can we do it, one of the focus groups all in Spanish perhaps, or?
Yeah, I think kind of how Catherine put it, if there is, that preference and need for that, then yes, I think that we could definitely do that.
And then we had a separate conversation in one of our individual check-in meetings with a group of you around the consultants with lived experience, and if we wanted to translate that recruitment flyer into Spanish, and we decided we wanted further discussion. And I don't think we have time right now for that, but wanting to make sure if we do offer a bilingual, RFA development process, we need to have enough people to create. It basically needed more discussion. We want to make sure that it's not one single person feeling like they need translation, that it was a group of people and it be thought out. And so we decided we wanted further discussion with our RFA development consultants before we translate that particular piece, to make sure it's thoughtful and well done and inclusive, and not if we do have somebody who prefers Spanish language in the RFA development process. So we will have that conversation and get back to you all. But yeah, the intention is always to provide things in Spanish and other languages as needed.
And just adding to what Janice said, I know we had talked too about with that group of just really keeping us as up to date as possible with who you all are thinking for your consultants with lived experience, so that we can act accordingly. So if we do think there are one or more people that would be great fit as consultants who who Spanish is their first language or another language, then we'll want to be talking that through very soon.
This is Amy from Wisconsin. I had a question actually that was posed by somebody who's thinking about, we had asked to participate in as a consultant, and they were interested in the grant themselves. And they asked if future funding that's coming out of this funding, the grants that obviously we're writing the RFAs for, are they going to be only available for public school intervention, or is that not necessarily a stipulation? They're asking about like parochial schools and or other schools. Or is it limited to just public, or is it broader than that?
That's a great question. I believe the only school we'll figure out the requirements as a group, you know, at the lead of Gwin and Gilchrist, but from the USDA perspective, the schools will need to be participating in the National School Lunch Program and or National School Breakfast Program. So that is not just limited to public schools, but there are some stipulations on who's able to participate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, so in our last few minutes, just wanted to share a few next steps, and anyone who you know, is leading these various processes, please jump in and correct me if I miss or misrepresent anything. So I will also try and get this recording out. Sorry, I started that late and in the middle of Peyton's presentation. My apologies, Peyton. I was like, oh, this is good information. We should record this. But we'll process that for any of your colleagues who weren't able to join today. But first, one of the most the next to do is, of course, for state leads and Action for Healthy Kids to be identifying their consultants with lived experience and getting that information to me and in the form that we have in the SharePoint. And there are a few folks that are entered right now as tentative. So if you haven't looked at that form recently, please do take a look. And as you're working on your outreach, so we can continue to try to have representation from the different priority audiences that we have. So we have a diverse group of consultants to work with Gwin and Gilchrist on this application development. So since we're having that kickoff in a couple of weeks, we do need all consultants identified by the end of next week. And again, the ask is that if that feels impossible to you, to let me know, and we'll see if some of our folks with more national networks can help us recruit from outside of our region, which of course isn't ideal, but then we won't have that conflict of interest concern since they wouldn't be eligible for a sub-grant anyway. So that is the probably most pressing to do in the next couple of weeks. Once your consultant is identified, like Jana said, we will give them their honorarium form so that we can pay them. We'll also ask them to complete that doodle poll so that Gwin and Gilchrist can schedule the kickoff. And we'll ask them to share any insights on communications they have via a brief survey. Also, at the same time, Action for Healthy Kids, as Peyton shared, is going to work on getting our focus groups underway, and that's so that we can get broader insights into what this program should look like and what's needed as we continue to reach out to potential grantees, so we can hone this opportunity to really serve the people we're trying to serve. So Peyton, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think everything is in the 2023 planning folder in ShareDrive. There's a subfolder called assessment that Peyton's uploaded a number of materials to, including the document you'll put your names into and the PowerPoint that was shared today. And if you're able to get those nominees in by July 21st, that would be very helpful, but it sounds like there's a little wiggle room since we have vacations and similar. So that's on the assessment piece. For the Amy, thank you. I'll re-share it with you. I'll make a note to do that. So the communications piece, the ask is to respond to the calendar invite that you have for next Tuesday afternoon with accept, tentative, decline. And we hope at least the folks that have signed up for the communications subgroup are able to join that workshop. And if you're only able to join part of it, that's fine as well. But any input you can provide would be great. And then last but not least, if you're able to, if you want to join the kickoff for the RFA development, even if you're not part of that subgroup, please fill out that doodle poll so that Goen and Gilchrist can take your availability into account. And all of this is in the email I sent yesterday and our running updates in SharePoint. And our next group call like this will be optional, and it'll be August 2nd at 1 Central Time. And I'm going to save this chat since I'm seeing some things come in, but I know we're at the hour, and many of us probably have other meetings to get to. But thank you all so much for your time today and for everyone sharing your updates and all the work that everyone's put in to this point. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks all.